for your own navigation. So make sure you log on to that portal, 3news.com/elections, because we are your election command center, just giving you the regular update, which we're going to do until the last vote is counted and subsequently declared by the Electoral Commission. And we also will do that. Before then, would have been giving you the provisional figures from the various polling stations, subsequently going up the ladder. That will be the constituency level, the regional level, and the national level as well. Your election command center is the best place to be. Up-to-the-minute information right there. Great navigation, great figures, historical data, all at your beck and call, your choice, and you make that determination, the sort of information that you need to extract from the portal. No other media house does that. We certainly have you at heart. Talking about bringing you the latest update, we do have right here in the studio the General Secretary of the Opposition, NDC. They've been crisscrossing the country. He also inclusive, and Fiifi Kwetey is right here. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Roland.
We have to do this snappy, but how have you been? Well, surprised to see that you're not stressed as usual.
It's been hectic. It's been very, very hectic. And good morning to you and to all your many viewers. Happy to be here. And I want to begin by thanking TV3 and Media General for, the work you've been doing. You've been working hard for God and country. Okay. So I just want to use the opportunity to thank you. And I know you are bracing up for lots of hard work in the next few days ahead of us. To ensure that the country is kept very informed and updated. Very important election ahead of us. And I want to salute you and all other media for the work you're doing. Yeah, in terms of the work being done at the level of the party, as you can appreciate, this is a very important election. We view it as an election that goes beyond just the fortune of NDC and MPP. It's an election that literally determines the very fate of our country. We believe the very soul of our country is at stake. And this election is so critical, so pivotal. Therefore, we've approached it with that level of seriousness and working extra hard. The flag bearer has done a fantastic job leading this campaign. Held by the running mate, Prof. Nana Jane Opokwajima. At the party level, a lot of work is being done as well at different levels of the party, from the national to the regional, through the constituency all the way to branches. I would say that by and large, we are not taking anything for granted. We still have a couple of days to finish. Let's say effectively today, tomorrow to finish. So we are working towards that. A final rally will be done tomorrow, at which we'll do a final pitch. We are hoping that your station and other stations will be able to cover and let the country hear those final messages. So, is
it the final rally in Medina?
Yeah, the
Which
final rally in Medina.
Venue specifically?
There is the exact name is a Zongo. Okay. Basically, it's, when we did our campaign, we actually used a particular venue. Okay. I'll try and get the exact name for you in a moment.
Before you ramped up the campaign over the last couple of weeks, your director of elections, even you, the rest of the national officers, had been all on and about the Electoral Commission, the figures, collation, etc. The question is, was it not too much to ask of the Electoral Commission? Because they are independent body, so to speak. Somebody was.
That's true. We've always had a situation of an independent Electoral Commission right from the very beginning. But you would appreciate that this current iteration of the Electoral Commission, caused quite a lot of problems themselves. First of all, their case became worse by the very nature of the composition of the Electoral Commission. And we've never had in our history a situation where you have virtual, card-bearing members of a political party, being made into commissioners of the Electoral Commission. That is something we've never had. So that's a problem we have with the current one. Two, their levels of incompetence has actually compounded the issues themselves. Not only are we talking about how terrible they went about the 2020 final result compilation. The first time in our history, the Electoral Commission could not come out with a definitive result that the whole nation and the international community could trust. They had to go several, making one mistake after another. And subsequently, even the preparation to this election, you've seen a number of errors that have happened. Even the most recent as a situation where even special voting, ballot papers for two big regions were not ready, and postponing had to be done, and we are looking at voting to be done tomorrow. So they've not exactly covered themselves with glory. They've tried to be very defensive at every moment, try to create impression that they are basically one of the best commissions in the whole of Africa. But the levels of incompetency, I mean, does not show that they really are up to that level. So we know that we are not going to be winning this election on the back of any favors coming from the Electoral Commission. We are approaching it with that perspective that we need to take our destiny in our own hands and legitimately work hard, get our guys ready, our executives at the various polling stations, at the constituency collation center, all the way to the national collation center, ready to be able to make sure that we do not leave our destiny in anybody's hands.
I had Bossman Asari interacting with me right here in the studio, I think just about a week or two ago. Okay. He did point out that the president is the appointing authority, and that is well stipulated in the Constitution. Yeah. And so if there are so-called politically exposed persons appointed to the commission, really, he doesn't see how they will influence the workings of the commission. And ultimately, if there's an election at all, its outcome. What do you say to that?
I mean, that's a rather very weak argument.
Weak?
It is true that the president is the appointing authority, and that speaks to, shall I call it, the level of decay that has happened in this country, that a president will have no problem appointing a card-bearing member, a communicator of his party, to become a member of the commissioners of the Electoral Commission. It's totally unheard of. Totally unheard of. I mean, just imagine that John Mahama becomes president and we decide to take maybe Malik Basintale and make him what you call one of the commissioners, or take one of our executives or one of the regional executive communicators. I mean, you don't do that. But that is the level of impunity that this country has seen. The people who have been in power, I mean, over the last 8 years, believe that this country literally is their property. They can get away with anything. You understand? And they are the Electoral Commission. I mean, effectively, if you know you're a card-bearing member of a party, you are being appointed to a position of that nature, you actually need to appreciate that this work is expected of people who have at least a semblance of neutrality to be able to do things objectively. Not people who are in there and they are very, shall I call it, modus operandi is to do everything in support of the party.
So you think those individuals should have rescinded the decision?
Absolutely, absolutely. First of all, the president did wrong.
Really?
The Council of State advises the president did wrong not to be able to tell the president this is unacceptable. The whole party structure of the NPP did wrong in saying that, listen, Mr. President, this one is too blatantly obvious. Let's don't do this. And of course, those who appointed themselves clearly should have done much, much better.
While you've been on the campaign platform, there's been a concern that the flag bearer, John Dramani Mahama, yourself as well, have been on a certain tangent of saying the government has done nothing at all, and that this election is really about the economy and not only about projects that have been implemented. People say that cannot be fair.
I don't think we have said nothing has been done. I mean, that clearly will not be the truth. I mean, you cannot be in office for 8 years, have a total resource envelope of about 1 trillion cedis, borrowed up to 800 billion and have nothing to show. It's not possible. I mean, even the most incompetent group will still have something to show. What it is we are talking about is giving the resources that have been available, 800 billion in the space of 8 years, compared to 120 billion that NDC had in 8 years. If you look at what has been achieved, NDC with 120 billion was far more efficient, delivered far more to the people of Ghana, had greater what you call value for money in terms of the things that we've done. Also, did what you call investment that clearly had what you call long-term ramifications of our economy. I mean, for example, major things, for example, they can mention in NDC, and those things are what you call monumental in the way they represent massive economic pillars for the country. Take, for example, we borrowed about $1 billion for the Turbo Gas project. That project is a project that on its own, within 4 years, basically plowed back the money that we had borrowed and now had become a pillar that economically becomes what you call a foundation for greater growth for the economy. That is the kind of what you call legacy infrastructure that when you put in, you know a country really, really is going to have massive benefits in the future. The project takes care of itself. We did the same thing with what you call the Tema, Harbor. And today we're talking about a project that is virtually about one of the best in the whole of West Africa and competitive across the continent of Africa. Also capable of replowing back its own money as well. We did the same for Terminal 3 at the airport. And I'm able to quote this because as I was transport minister, these projects were commissioned under me. Incidentally, that project also, we did it not using government money, but leveraging the cash flows in order to be able to get that job done. Those are legacy things that you do, and you did that all with what you call limited resources, in comparison to what you call the ocean of resources that have been available to this law, and still very little. Isn't it really a shame that a government will put up what you call TV3, Terminal 3, TV3, Terminal 3, almost close, right? Terminal 3. You actually do not even have what you call the humility to admit that this job had been done by your predecessor. When the commission was going to be done, you never even bothered to invite that predecessor. I, as transport minister, who commissioned that project, I was not even told, no invitation. Then you can actually have what you call a petty, mediocre how do you even call it? E-gates.
It's E-gates. It was.
E-gates, and you drive a whole
it was
convoy.
outlawed yesterday by
you
the
actually
Vice
have a
President.
whole convoy to go and commission E-gates. When a massive infrastructure such as Terminal 3 had been done, you do not have the humility to even admit and give credit to the government that hadn't done the same thing. The same thing is being done, for example, with the railway project, from Tema to Mpakadan, which actually is a 100% NDC project, because the whole financing was secured in our time. What you call parliamentary in the, how do you call it, cabinet approval done during our time. Today, they are pretending as if this is their project. They don't even understand the economic basis on which we went into that, how we were thinking about taking cargo off the main road and taking it through the railway to Akosobo and take it by water to be paid in order to be able to fast track what you call the movement of goods and services in our country. But that's exactly the problem we have today. Really. Huge resources, but very little has been achieved because it's a government that delights more in sloganeering.
Really?
Empty noises. Empty noises. That's what they do.
You might have heard of the one district, one factory and some of those ones. But before you respond to that, consistently, when you say the election is about the economy, because every government undertakes infrastructure and some of the basics that are needed by its people. When you say the election is about the economy, and the economy, what really do you mean? And how can you just oppose the period of the John Mahama-led government and this time around to say that? Because the government says it's COVID, Russia, Ukraine. Okay.
Very true. That's a very, very valid question. Yeah, the election essentially is about the economy. It's about examining your standard of living at the end of 2016 and looking at how it is today in 2024. So, for example, you take, for example, what the value of our currency was at the end of 2016. You could take a maximum of 4 cities and be able to get $1. Today, you're struggling to be able to get that same dollar with 16 cities. You're talking towards 17 cities. That ab initio changes the dynamics. It makes life absolutely difficult for those who are dependent on doing business, importing into this country. And you know, a lot of Ghanaians actually are dependent on that. You also are talking about consumers who actually are at worst off because prices clearly have exponentially gone up. It means that your income levels are reduced considerably. If, for example, you used to literally spend, let's say, let's assume 10,000 cedi to be able to get amount of dollars to do your business. Today, that same 10,000 gets so little, you have to literally add more. So your business is really, really struggling. Inflation has gone all the way to over 50% under this regime, and that clearly has massive effect. The effect it has had generally on businesses. Businesses have collapsed. Banking sector has gone through so much crisis. People have lost their jobs. Microcredit companies that used to be what you call the oil of what you call small businesses across the country literally have collapsed. So you're talking about an economy that truly has gone through massive suffering to the point where today, even pensioners, people who have worked for decades and put their money to take care of themselves in the future, their money today have been jeopardized. The country has been so disgraced that we cannot even honor what we call debt obligation. The first time in our history. At least we remember the comic, it was a comic, Kwetey Champon. Kwetey Champon say, we will not pay. It was not, we cannot pay. In the case of the NDC and the Bawumia and Nana Akufo-Addo, it is we cannot pay. We are so broke. We have totally mismanaged the economy. And worst part of all this is what you call adding insult to injury. If it's the midst of all this difficulty, you're at least humble enough to accept that, you know what, these things were largely self-inflicted. Because remember, in 2020, the amount of money that MPP benefited from COVID alone, if NDC had access to that kind of resource, it would have achieved so much more. We're talking about just a period of 6 months between July of 2020 to the end of that year of 2020. MPP was getting not less than about 30 billion cedis for COVID alone. That's money that was coming through. 30 billion. Imagine that the whole of NDC in 8 years, the totality of money we borrowed was about 110 billion. That's 8 years. And you are getting about 1/3 of that for 6 months, and you still manage to plunge this economy to a 15% deficit by the close of 2020. Inflation went all the way through the roof, and the very foundations of the economy started collapsing because of the massive political, shall I call it, throwing money like confetti, using it to be able to take care of your political things, sharing it to your parliamentary candidate, and destroying the country. Meanwhile, you are going to impose so many taxes on the people subsequently. So, I mean, this is an economy that really has suffered under what you call the mismanagement of Bawumia, who has been in charge of that economy. So if that individual today stands up and say, vote for me because I'm able to do what I've not been able to do as head of the economic management team, the country clearly must say that, listen, you are taking us for a ride. You are thinking that we are not smart, and the country must react.
As you have been on the campaign platform, which you'll be ending in a day or two, it will mean that you have been able to explain clearly what your policy propositions have been or are, because clearly among them, and at the tipping point, is the 24-hour economy. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and the MPP campaign team, they say your explanations are not enough. How are you able to explain that to the ordinary Ghanaian that you meet on the campaign trail?
I mean, what do you expect from them? Clearly, that's what they will say, because that's their business, to try to create the impression as if something that, for example, the TUC, that clearly knows about the whole capacity to generate employment, right from word-go, say that was a game changer. And clearly, TUC as an organization are people who clearly know. For them to see what they've said means that they have taken their time to examine what it is that, that 24-hour economy actually effectively is about. Listen, it's a simple process of making sure you start something on a small level, make sure it works at that small level, then gradually you expand it by onboarding different segments of the economy on it. There are immediate nuclear portions of the economy such a thing can start. Manufacturing is one. In terms of manufacturing, both at the pharmaceutical level, at the general manufacturing level, you can actually have a set of policy that would ensure that you run more than one shift and be able to, as it were, expand production, expand the numbers of people that are being employed, and by putting in policies that are targeted and making sure that happens. Policy in terms of taxation, policy in terms of power, what you call arrangement, in terms of tariff arrangement, policy in terms of security provision, that can be done. And once you achieve it at that level, you have gotten what you call enough information to now gradually bring in different, what you call, aspects of the economy to be onboarded, to make it a larger thing that can go into different aspects of the economy. And also, when such a thing starts to succeed, natural, what you call, rippling effects occur in the economy. When people start to see things that are generating what you call production, automatically different services start coming on board. Ancillary economic opportunities start to come. That is how you build an economy. And these are things that already are being done in different parts of the world.
Talking about what then you're saying, you mean that there need to be effective policies on import substitution, where there are going to be ready markets for off-takers for some of these products. How does your potential government intend to deal with that? You know,
the government is the largest spender in any economy.
That's true.
And that one of the things we've not been able to do is literally leverage that massive capacity on the part of government and use it positively in discrimination towards things that are being produced locally. And that is the big one. So if the government decides, for example, that, listen, we as a large spender want to make sure those who are operating under this 24-hour policy as much as possible, we are off taking a lot of the things that they can produce. And that becomes a massive, what you call, opportunity in terms of business. And with that, that also means that there could be clear opportunity in terms of making sure what is being produced is competitive. Things that normally we can do without, in terms of if I have to import something, that I can produce much better, given what you call the tariff arrangement, given what you call the special incentive that we want to provide. That's the way you'll be able to start, incentivizing and producing and becoming more competitive as an economy.
So I'll read a couple of messages from people who are watching us, etc. This one, for example, is coming from Hassan Suleiman. Says that they will vote for you, but they are worried you can't protect your votes. Now, that brings us to, I don't know whether you hear that or not.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot.
So at the end of the day, we witnessed an incident just 2 days ago during the special voting. That's even become a bigger topical issue now. How do you make sure that the concerns about abuse of the electoral process in terms of sharing of gifts, etc., does not become a part of the voting process on voting day?
That's true. I mean, we know, because in terms of what is ahead of us, we have what you call the ruling party that literally swimming in a notion of money. Money clearly that they have.
Meaning what?
Of course. I mean, you saw a bit of that when, for example, we went to Asinoff, where they believe, for example, that they could literally throw money at the people and be able to get that by-election through. And the people at Asinoff actually collected the money and made sure at the end of the day they voted according to their conviction and according to what they have seen done to them over what you call a period of 7 years. We are telling the country that is the same thing. We are dealing with a group that literally have impoverished the whole of the country, and they themselves have made themselves super wealthy, so much so that some of them can have millions of dollars that are kept under their bed. So the country, this is the moment for you to let them know that we are not naive. We know how you have wrecked the country, how you have destroyed the economy. Your money, we know, is going to be available. It is Ghana's money that you have money to illegally acquire. When you bring it, we'll collect it, all right? But at the end of the day, we will let you know that we are smarter than you think we are. So basically, what I'm telling the whole of the country is that Asinoff is your best, shall I call it, barometer. What Asinoff showed last year is what the whole of Ghana must show the NPP. Let them know that we are not naive, we are not idiots. We know how pain you have caused this country, and we will collect your money and show you that we are smarter than you think we are.
And talking about the voting process, all the concerns that have been raised by some of your agents who were within the processes of supervising the printing of ballot papers, some of which have become a subject of controversy, for which we've had even the special voting process being postponed to tomorrow, for example. What really transpired at the printing presses, and what other concerns does the NDC have in relation to that?
I mean, what I would say is that every step of the way, NDC has been extremely, extremely vigilant. Why? Because I told you right from the word-go that we do not trust any institution. Sadly, that's the reality. We don't trust the institution.
You don't?
Because we are dealing with a government that's so desperate that they will stop at nothing but to literally pervert institutions and weaponize them against the people of Ghana. So we are operating in this, our destiny is in our hands. So our vigilance has been our, shall I call it, modus operandi. So every step of the way, we've been super vigilant. A lot of the things you've seen come out in the media, or electoral commission has had to do backtracking, largely has come because we have had to push back. Our vigilance has been able to uncover things, and we've stood firm every step of the way. And I can say that is exactly what has happened, even in the issues of these ballot papers and so on. A lot of it has been alarm that we have raised ourselves, and our vigilance will continue all the way until D-Day, and every step of the way until the whole process is done.
There are key issues that have been raised by civil society, including yourselves and the other political parties, of course, with the exception of the ruling party, which is concerns about what transpired in Ayawaso West Wogon during that by-election violence. And subsequently, in 2020, 8 people died, for which you still say there have not been any end in sight, that the president hasn't made any comment on it. What are your concerns going into this election when it comes to the mayhem, the violence?
We know, I mean, if we allowed our opponent alone, they will literally have their way using exactly the tactics that they used during the Ayawaso West Wagon. we committed real violence in that by-election and continued in the 2020 election that led to the killing of so many people. We saw yesterday already, and I'm sure your own station here had even shown clips of, shall I call it, military people, some of them wearing masks, arriving in different parts of the country. We saw, a plane that landed in Tamale yesterday with things that are being taken off under very, very mysterious circumstances. I would say that a lot of that information is coming again because Ghanaians, by and large, are being very vigilant. Even people who are not necessarily political feel that, listen, things must be done well. And a lot of those people are providing information. And that is what's going to happen. Yesterday we had a very extensive meeting with, shall I call it, the IGP together with the security establishment who are going to be in charge of, shall I call it, election security. And the conversation went well. Assurances have been given in terms of the system to put in place to ensure that at every moment issues can be quickly dealt with. I mean, we express our happiness with some of that arrangement, but we told the security arrangement that it is one thing having a successful special voting. It's another thing when it goes up to the level of the December 7th, which becomes a nationwide exercise. And we are expecting that they will do exactly what it is that they promised to do. But at the end of the day, we are making sure that the masses that support us are going to be super vigilant. They are going to be present every step of the way. They are going to make sure they do things legitimately and to ensure that nobody is going to simply get away by trying to use either, what shall I call it, hooded people, people like they did in Elso West Wagon, wearing the vest of national security and causing havoc. We just for this. But it's important for our opponent to appreciate that there is a limit to which you can go. Don't try what you tried in Elso West Wagon. Don't try what you tried in the 2020 election because we simply will not allow it.
Because that said, I just wanted to ask of you what your own contribution is, knowing that you've signed a peace pact by your flag bearer and the others as well. Because this is what the opposition party's youth leader says. And he says, we are not going to sacrifice this election on the altar of peace. Brian Champon subsequently also says that nothing will stop the ruling party from winning this election. On the other side, we had a press conference by the communication officer of your party, pointing out and even pointing figures to a brigadier general, making claims that he was among the individuals who were taking actions to mar this election because of the role he plays. Having an assessment of all these indicators, how then can we ask of you that you will contribute to the peace, even if you are provoked under extreme circumstances? Mr. Fiifi Kwetey.
Yeah, that's what I said already, that we effectively are ready to ensure that we make our massive numbers to be ready to ensure that every step of the way vigilance is at an all-time level, at every police station, at every constituency coalition center. We will make sure our numbers are massive. We will make sure our level of vigilance becomes massive, and that's the first line of protection at all moments. We also want to work very closely with the security establishment. They've given us assurances, and we want to ensure that those assurances are kept. I would say that what happened at Sinov was a good thing, because in Sinov, the IGP together with his team made promises, and I want to say they delivered on those promises. They've made those promises again this time again, and we are holding them to those promises. Every step of the way, we will on D-Day let them know that these promises have been made, they must be kept. And if at any point in time we feel that those promises are not being kept, we reserve the right to be able to do everything we can to protect our people and to protect the will of the people of Ghana. And that is notice served. So the IGP, together with his team, we trust your word, we trust your promises that you've given. We want to work with you closely to ensure that what you promised you deliver. But if at any point in time we feel that the institutions that are supposed to do the protection are abdicating their responsibility and allowing MPP hooligans to take the laws into their own hand, then as a party, we clearly would do everything legitimate to make sure we protect our vote, we protect the will of the people of Ghana.
When you were going around the campaign trail, and we've seen a number of them as well, even with your opponents, the ruling party as well, what were the feedback you were getting from the people in the communities that you think that if you should win in the first 3 months, you need to quickly tackle?
I mean, generally, you can see, I mean, it's a lot of disappointment. I think a lot of people expected a lot more from the ruling NPP. And so that disappointment is palpable everywhere you go. I mean, people can clearly see the lack of what you call development. The noises that have been made about how the economy has been great, but in reality on the ground you don't see a lot. The clear economic suffering, as I mentioned already, the erosion in the incomes of people, the struggle that people are going through on a daily basis. And you obviously see that in also what you call the numbers of our young people who have totally become desperate. Many of them have seeking refuge abroad. The massive disappointment in terms of NABCO, those who work under them, and you have seen them, your own network have been championing that, the disappointment that they face. And that disappointment that has extended to every other segment. Even free SHS that they have made a lot of noise about, and currently lying that NDC is coming to council, we didn't know it's not true, because we are those who brought the progressive free SHS and did it in a way to scale it gradually to make the country have quality education and also give access to as many people as possible and help people who are needy and stuff like that. Even the free SHS, the challenges that it has faced, and the fact that they literally have to almost intimidate the heads of institutions from telling what the truth of the situation is. All these things have come to us, and our promise is that we want to, first of all, work in restoring the economy, which is number one. We want to ensure that the economy is brought back to the place of health that it's supposed to be, stabilize the city relatively, and also show greater efficiency in the way we go about the resources.
My last question. How come you and the MPP all seem to be having your rally on the same route? I mean, security-wise.
Yeah, we were a bit surprised. We actually had done our finalization, and we actually came out with our announcement about where we are having a rally. It was subsequent to our announcement after it came out that we saw their bullets, what's the name, flyers coming out saying that they were going to be illegal. We were a bit shocked by that. We didn't even know that they were even intending to do their rally anywhere near there. So in that case, it becomes difficult. We didn't respond to them. They actually, as usual, responded to us. So it's a bit unfortunate, but I'm sure we'll be fine.
All right.
Sure
Thank you. Thank you for passing through the studio.
Yeah, let me just say on the final. Let me just say at the final stage that we want everyone out there to remember that John Mahama is the candidate to vote for. NDC parliamentary candidate are the deal. So let's go out in our numbers on December 7 and ensure that we vote for change. Ghana desperately need that change so that we can reset the country.
Well, Fiifi Kwetey is the General Secretary of the NDC, passing through the studios this morning. And you will get an upload of this interaction across our social media platforms, TV3 Ghana as always. And thank you for passing through as well. We're grateful. As always, we are your Election Command Center, bringing to you up-to-the-minute update on all things happening on the campaign trail, speaking to the key personalities, and then also on election day until the last votes are declared, whether provisionally, but also certified by the Electoral Commission right here on TV3, as well as the other subsidiaries of Media General. The good thing is we've been having a great portal dedicated to you, the ordinary voter, the ordinary Ghanaian. So make sure that you log on to TV3 mains portal, as well as what we know to be our own, 3news.com/elections. When you go there, easy for you to navigate, so you are free to input any information which gives you a historical recollection of all forms of data since 1992 and even 96. And you will get every information you want. And what the projections are, what the analysis are there, the interpretation when it comes to the historical information we've put out there, and that makes it easy for you to have first-hand information. And when we're doing the live broadcast and the analysis,